Welcome to the February 2nd, 2019 edition of Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show. The opinions expressed by the show's hosts, myself, Dwayne Perry, and Anthony Tony Hendricks, will many times conflict. Thus the title, Point Counterpoint. Point Counterpoint is a weekly issue show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to see through all the misinformation and get to the accurate facts, what is right and best for our community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone or their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment right of free speech, and we support anyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, an unedited, honest, candid discussion of issues. The producers of Point Counterpoint are solely responsible for the content of the show, but because the show is not rehearsed, we take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by our guest or for the information they gather from public sources. We will adhere to all applicable federal, state, and local regulations concerning limits of public speech and program content. The intent of our show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community, present the facts surrounding the issues, discuss the pros and cons, then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. Point Counterpoint 46360 show is a property of its producers, Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks, and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of its producers. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions of others in postings of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media. We welcome and encourage ideas and suggestions for the show. We beg for those, in fact. Please email us. We can be reached at 46360show@excite.com. Our shows will air on Comcast Cable Access and will be rebroadcast by us on YouTube under the label Point Counterpoint 46360 show. All you have to do is search for 46360 show on YouTube. Again, welcome to Point Counterpoint 46360 show, brought to you by Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topics, our discussion, and the show. Well, let's get started. Tony, what do we have on our agenda for today?
All right, again, pile of stuff, stack of stuff. So we're going to talk about St. Anthony's a little bit. Drove out to St. Anthony's, that neighborhood. The state of Michigan City, and we want to keep on the where we're going. I like the predictions of where we think we're going to be in 5 or 10 or 20 years. And some discussion about some media events. So St. Anthony's, I went, it's been cold outside, right? Been cold, so I went up to one of my apartments because they had a water valve leaking. I was scared. I thought water, that's something very careful. Careful, if you got water leaking, you don't want to take care of it. So it was just a water valve, it's good. But I came back and I called Dwayne. I said, you know, just drove by Barker and Wabash. Big signs. I mean, I think it looks very bad. It says
closed,
hospital,
moved.
Closed. It's red and white, big, every entrance, right?
Yeah.
Closed. And then it says we moved to whatever. I don't remember what it said. Something we moved. But, I mean, that speaks volumes for our town. When people come into our town in the summer and they got these big, huge signs that say closed. I mean, it's huge.
It really does. It really does. When Tony told me that, I said, I got to see this. And sure enough, I drove over there, and every entrance to the hospital, a big closed sign, every parking lot entrance. And I remember hearing the representative, well, first of all, I want to say, what are we talking about? There is no St. Anthony's anymore. I feel like, Simon and Garfunkel. Where are you now, Joe DiMaggio? Well, where are you now, good St. Anthony's? It's gone. It's Franciscan.
Franciscan Health Alliance.
It's part of a chain. Franciscan Health Alliance. It's big business. And I remember hearing on the radio, the local radio station, their representative saying, now, we're still there for the community. We're going to have our emergency room open. There are going to be several other entities that will be there to support community needs. Well, I'm sorry, I drove by the emergency entrance. The entrance to the emergency area closed. Every entrance to the hospital was closed. There were no cars in the lot. This is big business. at its best. St. Anthony's became Franciscan, part of the Franciscan chain, which is owned by the Sisters of Alverno,
I think so.
a religious organization. And that kind of right there rubs me the wrong way. By being owned by a religious entity, they don't pay property taxes or tax exempt. So think about that the next time you have a loved one in the hospital and you get the bill and there's $75 for a mucus control device, and you call and ask for an explanation. Well, that's a box of Kleenex. And that's what you pay. Hospitals, despite what they want us to think, make money. So St. Anthony's not paying, or excuse me, Franciscan not paying any taxes bothers me. Also, they're not even part of Michigan City anymore.
Nope, they're in the county.
They moved outside on the Michigan City city limits stops at 400 North. So they moved outside of the city limits. They're not a part of Michigan City anymore. We go from having 2 hospitals, Memorial Hospital on Pine Street, which is now going to be luxury apartments, to no hospitals now that St. Anthony's is no longer exists. Look at the sign. It doesn't say St. Anthony's Hospital. It says Franciscan.
Michigan Health Alliance.
And what does it do? It hurts the people of Michigan City. Instead of having health care centrally located, now you've got to have transportation to get out to right next to I-94 to go to the hospital. It hurts everyone. I was talking to a member of our homeless community the other day. Well, it was actually some time ago. And that person was pretty upset. And I'm sure they were very upset these last few days with the polar vortex here. He said, you know, once a hospital moves out of town, and these were exact words, we're not going to have a place to stay warm. We're going to lose a warming station. And we don't have transportation, even if it still is a warming station, we're not going to have transportation out there because the city buses don't run there.
Well, that's a good question. City buses won't run outside of town.
Well,
right?
Apparently right now they haven't made plans for it. We've got the one bus that supports the college students that are at Purdue Northwest.
And a triangle bus. But
the triangle bus that goes Michigan City, LaPorte, and Purdue Northwest back and forth. But I don't think they make a stop at Franciscan Hospital yet. So we've penalized a community within our community that needs that transportation. They needed it severely these last several days with the sub-zero weather.
Yeah, that's a good question. We need to do some research. Can the city provide bus service to an entity outside of town?
So I've been very upset for that a long time. This is a big business decision. The representative of Franciscan was on the hospital the other day saying it was a wonderful thing it is. And it truly sounds, and we gave kudos for this, I believe, previously, that they have built a state-of-the-art facility for cleanliness, avoiding any type of contamination in the rooms. Very impressive. But are they still serving the people of Michigan City? Not like they used to. And that's an issue with me.
Well, yeah, that was my point, that they could have done a better job in these signs. They could have been nice, saying, you know, we welcome you to our new, not the big, all the out-of-towners going to see is hospital closed. Yeah. It's the first thing you see. It's red and white, closed. I mean, it looks so bad, but, you know, I don't fault St. Anthony's. I mean, they're moving out like every other hospital out to the counties and out to the interstates, and it's a business decision. Like you said, they are there to make money and provide services, and it's a business like anything else, and I don't fault them. I think Michigan City is taking the brunt end of it, but they're doing what they need to do for their business.
Big business, profits. It sounds to me like it was an accountant's decision more than a service department decision.
Well, I look at it, it's sad that Michigan City couldn't entice them to stay somewhere.
Tony, I've never understood this hospital moving out of town business. I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
We got LaPorte.
You leave Michigan City going south, the next community is Westville. What, 9 or 10 miles away?
Yeah. At
least. To the east, next community is LaPorte, 13 miles away. LaPorte has And I don't understand why
LaPorte's put a new
LaPorte's
hospital up, and it's in town.
2 blocks away from their existing hospital. That I don't understand.
Well, they're building a brand new hospital, but they didn't leave town.
No.
They didn't go outside the county, and the Franciscan Alliance is updating one of their facilities in LaPorte, right, in downtown. So that's what I was upset about, that Michigan City couldn't some way open the chain of communication, entice them to stay somewhere closer to the people. But I guess it was a non-discussion. They just said, see you later. Just like when Porter Hospital left Valpo, they left downtown. They actually went to Chesterton. They completely
they're right
left.
off of 49.
They rolled miles north.
They can service Chesterton, but look at the distance from Valpo.
Yeah.
Look at how Valpo is penalized by Porter Memorial being outside Valpo now. I don't understand it.
And Valpo's a good town, so they couldn't even entice the hospitals to stay in town. It
just doesn't make sense to me.
But that's what I wanted. I saw that sign. I'm thinking, man, come this summer, if something happens on the beach or people come into town, they drive down Wabash, they're going to see these big signs. Hospital closed. Now, they will see the hospital on 94, but they're going to start thinking, what's so bad that the hospital went to left of 94? The facility doesn't look bad. I mean, it's
an attractive hospital. It's been updated. I know people that have spent some time in the hospital. Knock on wood, I haven't yet. But it's always been an acceptable hospital.
Oh, it's nice inside. So what are they going to think?
What are they going to do with it now?
And that leads us. That's going to dovetail right into your, the state of Michigan City. When people come to town and they see hospital closed, they have to start thinking, what's the state of this town? The hospital left town. So you did some research.
All these things that we talk about, they fit together. If you look at the big picture of Michigan City, we have our only hospital is now moved out of town. Well, I decided to find a little, if I could find something on the update of where Michigan City stands. And boy, did I find something. Unlike the mayor, who for some reason never reveals his sources on when he says, oh, a national magazine has saluted Michigan City, he never identifies it. Well, I believe that is what's necessary for credibility. And I went to a website called Area Vibes, Area, A-R-E-A, no space, V-I-B-E-S. And I'm going to identify that website. Using the livability score, Area Vibes ranks more than 35,000 cities and neighborhoods to showcase the best places to live in the United States. The list of the best places to live can be sorted by state or as an overall list across the USA. These top cities are selected by what matters most. Lots of local amenities, low crime, inexpensive cost of living, great schools, low unemployment rates, affordable housing, and sunny weather. Take a look at what cities rise above all the rest. Put simply, Area Vibes helps you find the best places to live in America. We do this by assigning a livability score out of 100 to any address, zip code, neighborhood, city, or city that you can think of. The next sentence says the criterias. Well, that I've already said. The higher the score, the better the city, in our opinion. The lower the score, well, don't say you weren't warned. That's exact words.
Now, wait a minute. So you go on the internet and you find this.
Yeah.
And this is what the younger generation does. I mean, you're doing it. It's amazing you're doing it. But the younger people, younger than me, when they're looking at where they're going to live or raise their family, this is the kind of stuff they look up. They start reading this stuff.
Yeah, the internet is the largest source of information in the world.
They don't go to the newspaper. They go to these sorts of things.
Yeah. So continuing, Michigan City at a glance, and this is an alarming glance. They have they very roughly just give it a letter grade. Michigan City, livability, amenities, D.
Wait a minute, amenities, D. What? We got all kinds of stuff. We're getting another Popeyes. We're getting parties. What's not working? A mattress store,
Well,
tire
yeah.
store.
No, we do have enough places to eat. Remember the weekend that I drove the lake to Franklin Street from the lakefront out to Fort North?
Create, play, repeat. Come on.
I said we have 80 restaurants within a block of
We got
Franklin
lots of
Street.
amenities. They don't like them?
They're apparently not the right amenities. Amenities D. Cost of living B plus. All right.
All right.
Our property values aren't very high.
It's cheap to live here.
Crime F. Education C plus. Employment F. Housing F. Weather D minus. And I was going to inject.
That should be an F plus after this cold weather he had. Woo!
I was going to mention when you got on amenities, I thought, well, you know, I looked into the weather, and the weather for Michigan City is an average of 70 degrees daily, only 4 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Now, is that really what people said? We've got to be a resort. We've got to be a destination location. 4 months out of the year?
Yeah,
June,
that's
July,
tough.
August, and September?
That's tough.
And that's not really fair because in September, Labor Day is the 1st of September. The kids are going back to school. Everything drops off in September. So actually, you're looking at 3 months.
Well, that's what I was going. Say 4 months, that's 16 weeks. Suppose you got rain, so you're down to 12 weeks, and you really want to get out here. So really you're looking at like 8 or 10 weeks. Or 8 or 10 weekends. It's tough. It's tough to make your whole community on that.
Well, I'm not going to read every one of these because after a while, statistics just turn people off, myself included. So I'm going to read the summaries. I will say, let me see. This is in the summaries. The summary on education in Michigan City. Michigan City, Indiana educational system consists of 17 public schools, 8 private, 2 post-secondary schools. The public schools have an average test score of 58%, which is 13% lower than the Indiana average, but 17% higher than the national average. The student to teach, the student to teacher, I believe they want to say, ratio of Michigan City public schools is 24 students per teacher. So you got one teacher trying to maintain the educational requirements necessary for 24 students in a room.
Yeah, 24 students.
Compared to 22 in Indiana and 16 across the nation.
Wait, we got to stop there for a minute. We've said this before, and you and I kind of disagree. If we got $2 billion, we ought to be spending it on teachers because this is absurd.
Yeah.
You don't think we should spend
We need
$2
to
billion,
sweeten the
but
pie
come on.
to get more teachers to come
The
here.
nation is 16-1, and Indiana is 22-1. We
Yeah.
got problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And the administration needs to come across with the money. They need to find it. A total of 78% of students in Michigan City have 8th grade educations. 77% have completed high school, and 17% have completed college. Okay, here's the bummer. Crime.
They said they didn't tell you so.
Yep. The overall crime rate in Michigan City is 40% higher than the national average. For every 100,000 people, which is how they break it down, there are 11 daily crimes that occur in Michigan City. So if you figure Michigan City is about a third of that, about 31,000 people, a little less than that. So there's about 3 to 4 crimes every day in Michigan City. 3. All right, I'll pick the lower number, 3. Be conservative. Michigan City is safer than 10% of the cities in the United States. So, wow, yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. In Michigan City, you have a 1 in 26 chance of becoming a victim of crime, becoming the victim of a crime.
Any crime.
I wish those were lottery percentages. I'd play it all the time.
You only got a 20% chance of winning. They win 80% of the time.
But what's impressive are the polls. How do the people of Michigan City feel? This website conducted a poll. How would you rate the amount of crime in Michigan City? Excellent. 11% are satisfied with being in a 10% safest cities in the United States.
There is virtually no crime in the area.
Virtually no crime in this area, 11%. Good, there's only a little amount of crime in the area, 11%. Poor, there's more crime than I'd like in the area, 33%, 1 in 3. Awful, crime is rampant in the area, 44%. Almost half, almost 5 out of 10 feel that crime is rampant. Do you feel safe walking alone at night in Michigan City? Extremely safe, 0%. Extremely safe, night or day, it's a very safe place, 0%. Fairly safe, I feel safe walking in most areas, 0%. Not very safe, I avoid walking in most areas at night, 50%, 1 out of 2. Not safe at all, I never walk alone at night, 50%.
That's bad.
Those are the
100%
numbers.
don't feel safe.
Yeah, those are the numbers that have to change if the city's going to move forward.
This is your favorite one.
Employment, yeah. Median household income, Michigan City, 37, just under 38,000 a year. The average in Indiana, 50,000 a year. The average nationally, 55,000 a year. You can get into owner-occupied, renter-occupied. Here's one that bothers me. Median earnings for a male in Michigan City. 31,000. Median earnings for a female. 19,200. Unacceptable. Talking about a Neanderthal community. Come on, guys. We gotta clean this up. Unemployment rate. Our local radio station and newspaper publishes numbers that they find say that Michigan City's 3% unemployment, or 4%, right in line with the state. This website, again, areavibes.com, says Michigan City has an unemployment rate of 7.4% versus the 4.4 for Indiana and 4.7 for the nation.
Well,
Poverty. What?
We talked about that last week, and
Yeah, we did.
I did find the article, Northwest Indiana Times, January 22nd, 2019. Michigan City, LaPorte, metropolitan area, both increased 0.2% to 4.8 unemployment. So
Yeah.
there's the latest number.
Which is over 100 people losing a job.
Latest number.
Poverty level, I said 25%. Area Vibe says 27% of people in Michigan City are in poverty. Poverty versus 15% of Indiana and 15% of the nation. Yeah, we are really a thriving community. And I'm not going to read the summary because it's repeating everything that I already said with one exception. The unemployment rate in Michigan City is 7%, which is 59% higher than the national average. Looking at it that way, that's bad. The poverty rate, 27%, is 80% higher than the national average. We're not exactly the land of opportunity right here.
But we have everything we could be. We got the beach, we got a casino, we got...
Good shopping, Lighthouse Mall.
We got a great location, but we just can't seem to get it together.
Well, the only thing I want to mention about Michigan City housing is that, and I'm not concealing anything. Median home price, that's boring. Median rent, that's boring. Average people per household, 2 to 3. All right. Owner-occupied households, 55%. Renter-occupied households, 45%.
Yeah.
So we're nearly 1/2 of the people who live in Michigan City are renters and not owners. That's another indication of community stability.
That's bad.
That's bad. A lot of the people that own houses are renting them out as a source of income. That's bad. It's just, these aren't good numbers at all.
And I haven't seen, in my private world, I do a lot of stuff for banks. And I have seen Michigan City prices, this $90,000 medium income price. I've seen some pretty decent houses jump $10,000, $15,000 in the last 2 years. But LaPorte's even better because the city of LaPorte, we see their prices jumping up 20, 25. Well, there's good jobs in LaPorte. And we're seeing in the areas that are high rentals in LaPorte, downtown LaPorte, people are actually buying them and converting them back to single family. I've never seen that happen. And I don't see that happening in Michigan City coming across my desk either. And there's nothing scientific about it, but I see a lot of home prices come across my desk when banks sell them and people buy them. And I was amazed to see City of LaPorte that people are buying rentals. They're profit generators, and they're turning them into single family again. It's pretty cool. I don't see that
Tony,
crossing my desk.
I think it needs to be pointed out that these increases that you're seeing, 90,200 is a median home price in Michigan City. That's not across the board. This, and I've said this in shows before, you want to look at, if you look at, excuse me, if you look at these statistics include Trail Creek, Potawatomi Park, Long Beach, and Edgewood.
Yeah.
This is not across the board in Michigan City. Village Green, an excellent, Village Green has the highest property values of the town, the developments that are not their own towns. Trail Creek's a town. Long Beach is a town. Potawatomi Park is a town. Village Green is part of Michigan City. In Michigan City, Village Green has the highest property values. There's a lot of areas that have really pushed this down. These people need help developing their properties. There need to be incentives. And 45% of the properties in Michigan City being rental properties, I rented for years when I was doing my thing. My career, as I've said many times, has been construction, building oil refineries. You move from project to project, which is a lot of construction. I'll say once again, they're not permanent jobs. You have to go to the work. You finish a job, you end a job, you have to find another employer, you got to go to another job. But renters don't take care of their houses like owners do. They're not neglectful, but renting is a Band-Aid. You need a place to live. You don't put in money into that house because you don't reap the benefits. And owners don't put money into their rental properties because most of them take a beating.
Yeah, it's a return on investment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, look at Michigan City. It's a $90,000 median home price, which I think is good. And if it sells for an extra $20,000 in this market, that's a 20% up rate. And you look at, we didn't have time to do it or a topic, but First Source Bank and Horizon Bank have record profits. So the economy, again, we talked last week, is rolling. It's booming. And 30% extra profit, 30% gains, 30% increases, and we're only seeing a 20% increase. We're not enjoying the same thing the national average is.
No, we're not. And when I pulled a few tidbits of information from previous shows. What we're talking about right now, the state of Michigan City right now. Okay, crime. You saw the grade Michigan City got from Area Vibes, F in crime. When you have, in LaPorte County, you have heroin up 274%, 27 times more heroin was taken into custody in 2018 and 2017. Crystal meth, however you pronounce it technically. Methadone products, 3,000%. 30 times. No, I'm sorry, heroin is only almost 3 times as much. I dropped to 0. 3 times as much heroin, 30 times as much methadone. Ecstasy, 7 times as much. Marijuana's up 13%. The only two, cocaine's down 43%, and pills, but these are unacceptable. This is crime. This is what's making people afraid or hesitant to come to Michigan City. And where are we spending the money? I said our people need help. TIF districts, which Tony's done research on that. They're being closed.
California doesn't do them.
California doesn't do them anymore. They found it didn't work out. 2015, in the Michigan City TIF, our main TIF, Michigan City spent $10.8 million in that TIF district that year. Their revenues for the year were $4.3 million. The city spent over 2 times the money it took in. So where's that money coming from? The Riverboat Fund. It's coming from other areas. It's not going into development of residential Michigan City, the property and its people. The property of Michigan City and the people that own it. We've got, what we've got here, to be very frank, We have an administration that is carefully crafting, deceptively, an aura about our town, an aura that Michigan City is where it's at. It's prosperous, it's moving forward. I've always said numbers don't lie, that's why I like them. All these numbers, we're not moving forward. We're not even keeping pace. It's like a term that I've heard about construction jobs that are going bad. We're going the old two-step shuffle, one step forward, two steps back. We're not going anywhere. Not when you're spending twice as much money as you take in. Where's that other $5 million comes, $6 million. 4.4 times 2 is 8.8, and we spent 10.8, over twice what we took in. Where's that money? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but what are you paying Paul for? Where's the money going? Is it helping the city? I don't think people in Michigan City are seeing it. Everything's at a standstill. Our luxury apartments, our 7th Street Park. But, okay, here we go. Our gonna do mayor and his administration, we're gonna do it. Just elect us again. Give us another 4 years. We're gonna do it. Well, 7 years now, my opinion, time's up. Show us what you got. Show me the money. Show me where the money's going, where it should be going.
Yeah, you look at a couple things. I guess if you say it enough times and it becomes truth, I guess that's the strategy. But we always said this before on the show. Where's the return on investment? And I believe these people believe the money they spent, there's going to be a return on investment. Well, we should start seeing something. We always talk about education and jobs. If you spend your money, your return on investment will be substantially higher, and you will start seeing the evidence of that with jobs and education. But look at the return on investment. So let's go through some projects. Return on investment, 7th Street Park. What's that going to be? Even before we go out the gate, what's the return on investment going to be? Can we at least try to quantify that? These luxury apartments, what's the return on investment that going to be? Wabash Street, when we did all the streetscaping, what's that return on investment? Ohio Street,
Well, let's
what's
stop
that
right
return
there.
on investment?
Let's stop right there if I may, because I was thinking these projects, the first two you mentioned, luxury apartments, 7th Street Park, they're dead in the water. They're not complete. Nothing's going on.
We're
Let's
gonna
look
do
at
it,
one that's complete.
We're going to do it.
Wabash Streetscape.
Wabash
Spent
is
over
complete.
$3 million for new sidewalks, planters,
$3 million.
tons of solar stop signs. And what have you got? When you drive north or south down Wabash Street, you still see the backside of merchant. You see the backside of stores. You see dumpsters. You see air conditioning units. You don't see anything attractive. And I can't blame the current administration for this. Whatever administration was in office when, and I've said this before, whatever administration was in office when Lighthouse Mall was built should have had right of review on the design. This is our city, we should have right of review. And had I been on that committee, I would have said, I want to see street fronts. I want to see storefronts. I don't want to see back of buildings. If you want a real fancy interior campus with streets and benches and everything, fine. But put 2 stores back to back, have your service corridor between them so that when anybody goes down Wabash Street, they see an attractive store, an attractive canopy store, not dumpsters and air conditioning units.
Well, I think you're going to be dismayed because that is the new planning. The planners are all about facing buildings to frontage roads, and the main roads, they see the backs of them. So even in the past administration, that was all the glory, and that's happening today. It's going to happen on Franklin. They want everyone to face the backs of the building on Franklin. They want them on frontage roads to get off of Franklin. But when you drive in Franklin, that's what you see. So Wabash Streetscape, but I want to ask one, Elston Grove. That's been done long enough, and that's not this administration. What was the return on investment on that? Have we seen property values increase in Elston Grove to have the return on investment for all the money we spent right here that
We've seen police calls increase to Elston Grove.
Because we're not seeing home ownership, rentals have stayed the same.
It's all rentals. We're seeing 2 You're more into that. Two
Duplexes?
we're seeing duplexes, houses that are occupied by two different living spaces. We're seeing those further divided into 4, sometimes 6 apartments, all rental space. And with that kind of situation, it's not moving that community forward.
Well,
Not in the direction that we were led to believe that Elston Grove is going to be an extremely upscale community.
yeah, it was supposed to trigger a sea change in Elston Grove after we did all this, but let's look at some of the things. Because I drove in on 9th off the Boulevard. The brewery. It's still in the same sad shape. It hasn't spurred any investment.
And I've looked at that building closely. It's getting to the point where you need to think about whether it's worth the cost of it to revitalize, to rehabilitate that
compared to the
building.
cost to tear it down, that's going to be tremendous. We had some condo development plan, I remember, on 8th and the Boulevard. That hasn't triggered anything with Elston Grove. We have these luxury apartments that I think is going to be the only thing in Elston Grove. The land north of these memorial site is for sale. I don't see people selling. The bank by the library is for sale.
Yep.
You know, I haven't seen. We're seeing reverse of what you would expect to see. If you invest in a neighborhood, you would expect to see some development.
We're seeing,
not people selling to get out.
No, you're right. We're seeing more undeveloped open lots and properties than we've had in the past. And the city is responsible for a lot of them because the city's buying these properties. Most recently, the city bought, first they bought the old Woolworth building in Kresge, tore it down. Now we've got vacant lots. Now they bought the next building to the south, which I haven't taken a look at that, how much square feet. But the old Woolworth and Kresge building, as I've said many times, were 32,000 square feet of livable, developable properties, 4 blocks away from our new train station, if it ever comes, for all of these people from Illinois that are going to move over here. All right, so those are 2-story buildings. So if property tax, if it were calculated on square footage, you got to divide that in half. Instead of 32,000, you got 16,000 square feet of taxable property that's not paying tax now because the city bought it. Maybe the city should start having to pay tax.
So what's the
But
return
that's
on
one pocket
investment?
to the other.
There's a negative return there.
Yeah.
It's not even an even return. It's a negative return. But that, and I keep wanting to go over this with Dwayne. You know, where is technology bringing us? Automation, whatever you want to call it, in the next 5 or 10 years. There's some really neat stuff online. Did some digging. You got the Brookings Institute. They did a huge study on it, and I was like, what you found with Area Vibe. It wasn't the best thing to read because when you look at automation potential in the United States, so they ranked every state in the United States on how much of their jobs could be potentially automated. Indiana is number 1. 48% of Indiana's jobs could be automated.
Wow.
Almost 50% can be automated.
Well, first of all, you gotta find people that can pass drug tests
Yeah.
to hire them. We've seen to have
this would wipe them out
problem
because
with that.
They don't need them. They'll automate it. 50% can be just gone. And so, and then they go to each town. And I was amazed. Michigan City, LaPorte, Indiana is in their research study. Actually, Michigan City, LaPorte. Average potential automation, so the number of jobs that could be automated and gone, 51%. And then they even go better, which I really like. You know, some jobs are easily automated, some jobs are not. So they have a low risk, a medium risk, and a high risk. Michigan City has 31% high risk of being automated. 31% of our jobs in Michigan City, LaPorte could be gone in 5, 10, 15, 20 years because of automation.
Well, see, that's what I've
30%.
That's what I've said many times, Tony. It really, I'm fine with progress, but artificial intelligence, automation eliminates, it creates some new jobs, but it creates far less jobs than it eliminates. The workforce in the United States keeps getting bigger, so we keep eliminating more jobs. At 7.4% or whatever it was, That's all we need, is to have a couple thousand more jobs eliminated.
30%? 30% can be gone. And this is a really good study because they go into the strategies, like you said, how many jobs are created by automation, how many jobs are lost. And then they say, okay, you're going to lose jobs. They give away 5 policy strategies for adjusting to automation. Like we said, you have to have first the person that can pass the drug test and shows up for work, and then you can start training them to adjust to the automation. And they say things like, you need to have trade schools. You're not looking for a bachelor's. You're looking to have them. You have to constantly be educated in the
Continuing education.
Yes, a constant continuing education, and they need to be given that into the business because the business needs to have people to employ that can do the automated work. Invest in reskilling incumbent workers. That's the reskilling and making sure they're trained and ready. Expand accelerated learning and certifications. So not bachelor's, but they can learn new things and remain in the work world. Make skill development more financially accessible. You look at, and Purdue's really been good about it, keeping tuition rates down, but they are skyrocketing. Yeah. And people can't afford that. So they can't go to work and pay for that. It's not going to happen. And then you need to align and expand traditional education. So they're saying, like you did, first you got to pass the drug test, you got to show up for work, and you got to know your basic math and English skills. You need to know those before you're going to move on to the next level.
And I got to say here, and with all of this information telling us what needs to be done, how much more attention have you seen A.K. Smith Career Center getting in it? Minimal.
I remember when they were going to build a new one, which I thought was wrong, and the roof was caving in, and they fixed the roof. I can't tell you. I don't know how the city can do it, and they always say, well, we can't give our money to the school. We got to find a way, because that is going to be
thinking out of the box.
That's going to be the center of keeping people in jobs, these skills and these certifications and these new ways that happen fast, very fast. This is not, that's what this study says. The problem with this is the speed of these automations are changing faster than we've ever seen. And these people need to keep up because there are jobs.
Yeah.
Well, one of the scary things was Figure 5. They put a number on it. So the high risk jobs that can easily be automated, 36 million jobs. 36 million jobs are easily changed to automation. I don't know how our society handles that. But Michigan City doesn't need to feel that brunt because this is not going to be good. And on a side note, this week I saw a couple articles on GM is giving their workers exoskeletons on the
Really?
Yeah, so they can put tires on and put motors in easier, so they don't get wore out. And now Boeing has a whole new thing about that.
I once caught a fish this big. You got to watch the movie Dave. Kevin Kline.
Yeah, yes.
When he's talking to the factory workers, he says, and he's doing the robot.
Yeah, the robot exoskeletons.
Yeah, exoskeleton. And he said, I once caught a fish this big, and it's like 32 feet across. That was so cool.
So they're automating. They're getting rid of the worker. They're giving them the ability to be stronger and get more work done by giving them some robotic help.
Yep.
In my mind, that's kind of scary because I know what's happening there. That is the first step in robotic workers because if you gave a worker an exoskeleton and it helped him put tires on or install the motor or the dashboard in the vehicle, he's doing the same thing every time. He's teaching the computer what he or she does every time. So the next move is take the person out of the exoskeleton and just use the exoskeleton. Because you've trained the exoskeleton. I wanted to bring in and I didn't do it. I got busy.
Well, I don't like that. I don't feel comfortable with that.
I know.
It's scary. Another person out of a job.
It's scary.
It seems like a crazy statement to make, but try this. Progress is out of control.
Oh, it is.
We always say progress is good. Well, it may be out of control.
Well, you also say if you get in the way to progress, it'll run you over. I wanted to bring a box in, just a regular, because I was unpacking some cabinets. So I wanted to just bring a box in, tape it up, and give it to Dwayne and say, hey, open this box. And you'd have to look at it and cut the tape and open the box. Now, try to automate that. just the function of opening the box. So if you're trying to automate McDonald's and you're going to have to automate everything, you got to start from what you want to end up to go where you want to be. You have to get the hamburger box out of the truck somewhere, open the box up, put the patties on the grill, go down the grill, put all the condiments in the bun on, wrap it up, and get something. You know, that's just to open the box up. The automation is going to be intense. Or to get the box to a place out of the truck, out of the freezer, and take the patties out and put them on the grill. That's a lot of automation.
All right, we got to talk about this before you do that. Are you going? How much time are you going to give me to open the box?
Well, see, I would put an exoskeleton on you, and you would open the box, and it would learn how you did it, and then we take you out of the exoskeleton and just let the exoskeleton do it.
Okay, all right. We got to start thinking out of the box. That's no pun intended. We got to start thinking.
We have to focus on A.K. Smith.
We got to focus on things like that.
Certification.
I got one for you. Biggest problem it's become the biggest problem. College loans. I've said many times in conversation, instead of having banks finance education, universities could finance it. It gives them the cost impact to them is minimal, and it gives them a constant cash flow for years. Think about that.
Well, I think there are some private colleges been doing that, and if I remember correctly,
Cut the banks out of the loop. They make enough money.
Some guys were abusing it, like almost indentured servants. You get your degree.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, I think it is too. If you could,
All right. How are we doing, Andy? We're okay. Andy says we're still okay because what else you got that you want to hit?
Okay, so in here, this Brookings study, at the K through 12 level, one of the most important actions that policymakers at the federal, state, and district level can take is to incorporate computer science education into school curriculum, particularly in high school. This will give you a baseline digital skills that workers will need to work with machines. And I wanted to bring that up because in my generation, I was just a little after you, we had Unix-based systems at Purdue, and we learned Pascal, Fortran, we learned BASIC, we learned QBasic, we learned a little bit of SQL. We learned a lot of the infancy of the programs. We learned the programming. Kids nowadays, it's on their phone. If they don't have an interface like Google or Yahoo, they don't understand what's going around in the background. They don't
understand how it works.
No, as long as they see is the front end, give me my Facebook or my social web page, and that's all I care. They need to incorporate what's happening on the background, so when the robot is not working right, our people are ready.
Yeah. Understand how things work, the understanding of how things work.
That's what this study was very, very poignant, that you need to get these things, these digital skills, in these students' hands. Not just skills that I can open a browser and research something, which is what we do, and then we research a little further, right? We dig down, we go to find out what happened behind it. Every one of these things, they have all the information. This was 110 pages. I didn't print them all out, but they had all the background information you could go research. The studies they did, everything that's happened. It's amazing how much study is working into, the academia is working into automation. What you call out there in the West Coast, Silicon Valley, these guys are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for mathematical equations on how to predict things that happen in the internet or manufacturing. These people are developing this already, and we need to be ready.
The bottom line is we're bringing up the rear, and we have to start doing better. We're falling behind, and we're going to fall further behind at a more rapid rate.
And I think
if we don't,
didn't the Michigan City schools now have digital devices for all their students now?
Yes, I heard it on the radio that they have laptops.
Yeah, I think Michigan City helped in on some of that. That was nice.
Yep.
So that alone started. We've got to make sure the digital divide doesn't separate Michigan City from society. I guess that's what I'm saying. We have got to get out in front of this. These kids need to have this in their hands because it's coming.
So much more that we need to do than we are doing.
But you're always right. You know, we got to make sure that you're off the drugs. You're going to show up for work. You're going to get out of bed in the morning. You're going to be at school the whole time. You're not going to skip half the days.
Yeah.
You have good mentors, and then you need a safe place to live.
You can't get an education if it starts every morning when you walk in the classroom and it leaves at 3 o'clock or whenever the day's over. It's got to be deeper than that. The family, the parents have to be involved. You have to have sufficient teachers, right-sized classes, proper for learning. It's got to move on. All those things have to click. There's got to be a way that the cities that have the resources to help education, like Michigan City, there's got to be a way to do it.
And that's what we were promised. Indiana, when the casino came in and the lottery came in, we were promised that money was going to go to education, and it has not. And I hate to beat the dead horse here, but if Indiana's sitting on a $2 billion surplus and we can't squeeze out money for teachers, we are destroying ourselves every year we do that. We don't have teachers, we don't have education, we won't have jobs. But we can keep on trying to, what is it, being penny wise and pound foolish. As long as we got that $2 billion in the bank, we all feel good as we sink into oblivion because the teachers are running out of the state like wild and we can't find any teachers and then we won't pay them anyways. So that's all we had for our, we got
one more thing. Tony and I, we feel like we're equal opportunity criticizers. We beat up on whoever we think deserves it. This is something that we normally don't do, but I'm going to do it because I think it's a community service. I was watching the news yesterday morning, and there was an article about the Houston, Galveston, Texas Archdiocese and pedophile Catholic priest. This is embarrassing to me, being a Catholic, that this is going on. It all started several years ago, and they made a movie out of it. It was up for an Academy Award. It was centered around the Boston Archdiocese, which when they started to investigate it, the Boston Globe wasn't going to touch it. Nobody's going to tangle with the Boston Catholic Archdiocese. Started out to be a half dozen priests. By the time they were done, the Boston Globe had no choice but to address it. They had over 2,000 priests that they found were suspect. Now, the other day, I watched, they talked about the Houston, Galveston Archdiocese. In that, they found 280, I'm sorry, I said 2,000. Well over 200 priests in the Boston Archdiocese. Not 2,000, I stand corrected. In the Houston, Galveston area, they're now looking at 286 priests. And they project that this number nationwide could be over 5,000 priests. There's a real disconnect there. There's a real problem because the group that should be addressing this is the United States Cardinal Conference of Cardinals. The one in Houston area, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, is really taking a hit on this because they're in the news right now. But they're caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't have any sympathy for them because there is no sympathy to be offered on this in this matter. The Vatican just refuses to drop the bomb on this like they really need to do and clean the faith up, the ministry. If they don't, my opinion is the Catholic community in the United States and Canada, North America, is going to take a huge hit on this. As far as Michigan City goes, there was a newspaper article a couple months ago on it in this area, and we've had more than one priest in our own community, I think it was Queen of All Saints Parish, that has been documented and is under suspicion, is being investigated. I think he'd been defrocked, as I recall from the article. We have several Catholic communities, churches in Michigan City, St. Mary's, St. Stan's, Queen of All Saints, Notre Dame. I appeal that talk to your children, Catholic parents. If your child has been touched inappropriately by a priest or a nun, which there aren't many of anymore, the amount of young ladies going into the convent has virtually gone to zero. When I went to St. Mary's grade school, I only remember a couple of them. Sister Roosevelt could handle a yardstick like nobody I ever saw, and she used it on me enough times. But there aren't many nuns. But if if your child tells you that they feel uncomfortable about an incident, please complain about it. Don't be quiet. This is critical. The victims of these pedophile priests, they have come forward, and they're people that have lived with it for 30 and 40 years. They've lived with this guilt and this humiliation. Please, this is a crisis that needs to be addressed, and we can address it from the bottom up. The parishioners, the Vatican, and the Congress of Cardinals needs to stop taking the sides of the priest and ignoring what the parishioners are saying. I have to say that. I'm sorry, but I think it needs to be said.
Well, you bring up, there's another article. It was a pretty neat article. I'm not a Catholic, but it had an article about the Pope. Who is the Pope now? He
Boy, am I embarrassed. I can't think of his name right now.
Name either. But he went after. There's some like a group of arch cardinals or something that take care of this, and he went after them and pretty much changed the way they function, because I think he was upset that this was not getting handled, that they were trying to sweep it under the rug and just trying to wear it out and weather the storm. And so it was a neat little article because it went into detail. I think it came out because it was in WikiLeaks. Yeah, WikiLeaks released this, and it was old news, but I finally read it, that the Pope is looking into this and saying, wait a minute, we can't tolerate this anymore. We can't cover it up. We're not going to weather the storm. Let's just clear this out. And he's up against, I guess, a group of archbishops or cardinals or whatever. I can't remember what the group is, but they're a part in the papal facility that take care of this, and he has replaced the head of it or something. So there's something going on between the Pope and those people. So we got a minute left.
Well, that's all I have to say about that. It's very disturbing. Hopefully the church can be convinced to become much more active about it and start removing these people, these priests, from the position where they can do so much harm.
Okay, it's February, so the Groundhog Day today. We have to quick. We only got a few seconds left. Groundhog Day. Didn't see a shadow. Whew. November was tough around here, right, guys? These last couple days were tough. I'm so glad the groundhog didn't see a shadow. We need an early spring. We need to think about some spring. It's gorgeous out today.
The polar vortex was something else. Glad it's over, coming to a close.
A few seconds left. We got lots of issues. We'll bring them out. It's always good to be here.
If you got any questions or comments, please email us, 46360show@excite.com. We really want to know what you think. If you think we're going in the right direction, we can do better, things that you want us to talk about, please let us know.
Thank you.
See you next week.